Hi, this is Ali Arango of Little Guy CGI, and today I would like to show you how to make an energy weapon in Blender 2.78C. So let's get started. Okay, if this is your first time in Blender, I recommend you go to File, User Preferences, go to Input, and then choose Select with left click. Blender's default select is with right click, and this may confuse you if you're coming from Adobe programs or other 3D programs. Also, while you're in here, click on Add-ons, then put a check mark next to 3D View, 3D Navigation, then scroll down. Make sure you put a check mark next to Mesh F2, Mesh Inset Polygon, Mesh Loop Tools, as well as Mesh Relax. Scroll down more, then put a check mark next to Paint Paint Palettes. Put a check mark next to Pie Menu 3D View Pie Menus. Then put a check mark next to Pie Menu UI Pie Menu Official. Okay, when you look to your left, you'll see a navigation tab. This navigation tab is here from the first check mark that you put in at the top of the list in the user preferences. With this navigation tab, you can quickly click around and manipulate your view. You can even do things like pan, orbit your view, zoom in and zoom out, as well as even roll your view. So I'm going to click front to go back to front view. Okay, as far as manipulating your view in Blender, you can hold shift as well as the middle mouse button to pan your view. If you hold the middle mouse button, you can rotate your view. If you roll your mouse wheel in and then roll it the other way, you can zoom in and out. I guess roll up, you'll zoom in, roll down, you'll zoom out. You can also hold control and then hold the middle mouse button and then push in, and then while still holding control, pull out to zoom out. Okay, as you work in Blender, you'll use the different modes of Blender to work on whatever you're work on. In this case, we're modeling an energy weapon. When you come into Blender, you'll be in object mode. In object mode, you can move whole objects around. And then when you click here, you have access to these other different modes that just allow you to work inside of Blender. Okay, what I want to show you today is how to make a low poly energy weapon. To do that, we're going to bring in a reference image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here to go to front view. When you look here, you can see which view you're in. So we're in front perspective view. Perspective view is kind of like a 3D view. See how you can see this grid floor right here? So the grid floor looks like this kind of because we're looking at this on a basic 3D angle. If we click here where it says view perspective / ortho, we go into front orthographic mode. In orthographic mode, you see things almost as if they were 2D. So you see things straight on and straight off without really any kind of 3D-ness to your images. Okay, so here in this view, what we want to do is press the N key. This brings up our property panel right here. Okay, what we want to do now is scroll down. And we're looking for this right here where this says background images. We want to put a check mark right here and then click this triangle right here. Now we want to click add image. So I'm going to left click here. When we did this, even more options opened up for us to select. What we want to do now is we're going to click open, and then we're going to navigate to where the image is. So I'm going to go to data, Documents temp, March 10th. Here we go. So I'm just going to click here. The reason why I can see this image, if I click here, oh, here we go. A lot of times when you go to see the image, you'll see the image, look like this, where you can't see what's going on. If you click here, this allows you to actually see the image that you're actually working with. So with this selected, I'm going to click here to open the image. Okay, so we can see our image right there. I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press B to draw a zoom box around this image to zoom in closer. I'm going to hold control now, as well as the middle mouse button, to zoom back some. Where this image came from is I went online, I looked up sci-fi guns, I then went into GIMP and combined two different guns together to basically come up with this image here. This tutorial we want to work in cycles, so when you look here, currently we're in the Blender render. If you don't know what the Blender render is, it is Blender's standard render. It is basically how you see things, particularly as well as how you see light. What we want to do is click here and then go to the cycles render. And what this does is this allows us to have a much more realistic lighting setup. Cycles makes lighting easier and tends to make things look more realistic as well. If you have an NVIDIA processor, if you click here and then look here, see where it says device. Currently I'm using my CPU. If you have an NVIDIA processor, your computer will tend to work faster by using your GPU. So I'm going to click here and then select GPU compute. If you do not see this, the option to do GPU compute, if you go to File, User Preferences, go to System, and then scroll down, if you have an NVIDIA processor, then you can click here and select CUDA. If you do not have an NVIDIA processor or other processor as well, there's other video processors that work with Blender now. However, if you have a processor that will work with Blender, you can just click here, okay? So I'm going to click there. Okay, so basically what we want to do is we want to use this reference use this reference image to get the basic shape of our gun formed by basically manipulating this cube right here. As far as your reference image in the background, currently the cube is in front of the gun. If we want the gun to be in front of the cube, we can click front, and now we see that this gun is actually showing up in front of the cube. By sliding this slider here, we can affect the opacity of our background image. We also can use options here to flip the gun different ways. Pull this out some more. You can adjust the rotation of the gun, the size of the gun. When I say the gun, what I mean is the background image. So if you're working with another background image, you can use these options to, work with that background image. I actually did a tutorial on setting up background images that's fairly detailed. I'll put a link up here so you can get to that. I think that I pretty much covered almost everything I can think of as far as working with background images in that other tutorial. The only thing I did not go over was, that I can remember anyway, is I did not have this very important option where you can click front. So we're going to use this background image to form our low poly energy weapon. Okay, I'm going to press N to take away that properties panel. We're currently selected on our cube. You can tell this because there's a orange outline going around the cube. We're currently in object mode to shape this weapon. We want to be in edit mode, so we're going to click here and then click here to go to edit mode. Okay, when you look here, we're in front view. this gun, we're looking at it from the side, so I'm going to click right to go to right view. As far as the gun is set up so it shows in all of the views. It can be set up to it being this image right here, which is our gun or energy weapon, can be set up so it only shows on right view or front view or so forth. However, for what we're doing, it's fine to have the gun show up in all of the views right now. So we're currently in right orthographic view. That's a good view to be in. What I'm going to do now is hold the mouse button, rotate the view. When I rotate the view, the image, the background image disappears. To see that background image, you're going to need to be in an orthographic perspective. So if you're in a view, you're going to need to be in orthographic perspective. Remember, you can click here to get back to that orthographic perspective. The reason why we turn the camera like this is we can see the thickness of how our energy weapon is going to be. So what I want to do is press S to scale on the X-axis to make this thinner. I'm then going to left click to lock in that scale. I'm then going to click here to go back to right view. You can see once we come back to this right orthographic view, we can see our background image again. Okay, we'll mainly be using this cube to form this. I said we would be using the cube. We'll mainly be using the cube. We'll bring whatever we need in to do this, fairly quickly. So if we need to bring a cylinder in, which, we will, we'll do that. So what I'm going to do is with this cube selected, I'm going to push this back. I'm going to start from the back. And then all I'm doing is I am trying to get a basic, to basically line this cube up. So I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press Z to go to wireframe. The reason why we go to wireframe is so we can select the 4 vertices here. I say 4 vertices because, see, it looks like there's 2 vertices, but actually there's 4 vertices. 1, 2, 3, 4. However, when you're in this viewpoint, it looks like there's only 2. We go to wireframe so we can select not just what we see, but what we see as well as the vertice that's out of view that we can't see. So with that being said, I'm going to hover my mouse here. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to left click and drag to select what looks like 2 vertices, but it's actually 4 vertices. And then I'm just going to take the manipulator and then just pull this up, just matching right here. So we have this line right here, this line right here, matching up right there. Okay, as we work our way through this, you want to think basic. You don't want to get too detailed. We're going to use the actual texture that's here to our advantage to help this low poly energy weapon, look good. So I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, and you want to think like, squares and rectangles. So what we're going to do is hover here, press B. And when I say squares and rectangles, I'm basically trying to say think basic, So generally we have, this right here. So what we can do is see how we have, okay, this lines up here, this lines up here, but we have this right here. So what we can do is we can hold control, and then while holding control, press R to put a loop cut in. See that line that just popped up? If I left click one time, that line, by the way, is our loop cut. If I click one time, the loop cut is partially locked in, but because I only left click one time, I can move this loop cut. So what I'm going to do is move the loop cut up just like this. I'm then going to left click to lock that loop cut in. And then now I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm then going to press B for box select. I'm going to grab what looks like 1, but it's actually 2 vertices. I'm going to push this in like this. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to push this in like this. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to grab and then push this in like this. So it doesn't have to be, exactly. If we can, if it's not that difficult, we want to, fairly match up our polygons with our background image. So I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, if we look at this energy weapon now, we can see that, okay, here's our polygon. We want this to extrude out because energy weapon extrudes out. So what we're going to do is Let me press the N key for the properties panel. I'm going to lower this opacity down some for that weapon. I'm going to press N to take away that properties panel. What we want to do is see this line right here of the weapon, but see there's no line right here, so let's add that. So we're going to hold control, and then while holding control press R to put a loop cut in. There it goes, our preview. When I left click one time, because I only left click one time, I can move this loop cut. So I'm going to move this down, and I'm generally moving this down just to line up generally, you know, right here. Okay, we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to make sure we're on vertices select, which we are. I'm going to hover here, then press B for box select. I'm going to grab right here. It looks like 2 vertices. It's really 4. I'm going to pull this forward just a little here. Just, you know, trying to match up with this, not, you know, perfectly. Now I'm going to press E to extrude. See the line right there is our preview line. See how that line is going diagonal? It's not going straight. So what we're going to do is we're going to press Y. And then when we press Y, Blender shows us, oh, here's the preview line going, you know, straight on the Y axis. And that is what we want. So we're going to come out here like this. I'm going to then left click. See how this line right here is diagonal? It would be easier for us to work with this being straight. So we're going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0, and then left click to lock that in. That's just a technique for making lines straight. Then we can see, okay, we need to go right to here, right? So what we're going to do is press E to extrude on the Y axis, go here. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. Okay, now I'm going to press A to deselect. So these vertices, I should say, these 2 that look like 1 up here are fine. This one can go up. So I'm going to press B for box select, grab these 2 vertices, looks like 1, but it's 2, and just move them up like that. I'm going to then press A to deselect. And this one we can, might as well, since we're right here, move this down a little. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm then going to hover my mouse here, press B for box select, left click and drag to grab what looks like 2 vertices, but which are really 4. I'm then going to press E to extrude, and we have our extrusion line right there. It looks totally straight. So we can either use that, or we can press Y to make sure it's totally straight. Either or is fine. So with that extrusion line, we're going to drag these 4 vertices out to here. I'm then going to left click to lock that extrusion in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, if you look here, you can see we need to extrude from here, but see right here, there's no loop cut. So we need a loop cut right here. So we're going to hold control. Then while we hold control, we're going to press R. I'm then going to left click once to put that loop cut in. Because I only left click one time, I can move this loop cut. I'm going to move this down like this. Moving it some more. I'm then going to left click a second time to totally lock that loop cut in. I prefer for this line to be straight rather than bent up like that. So what I'm going to do is press S to scale on the Z axis 0, and then left click to lock that in, and then that technique just made this line straight. So now that it's like that, I'm going to pull up some like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to press Z and then select solid so we can see how thick this is. I'm going to press A to select all of our mesh. I'm then going to press S to scale on the X axis to make this thinner some. I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to click here to go back to right view. We can't see how thick the different pieces of this are. However, that gives us the ability to be creative. So this right here, I want this to come in a little bit. So right now we can see, from left to right, this looks pretty much the same size. I think I want this to come in a little. So what I'm going to do is click here to go to face select. I'm then going to click here to actually select that face. I'm then going to press E to extrude. I'm then going to right click. And what I did was I just made a new geometry on top of the old geometry, even though it doesn't look like I did anything. Because that geometry is there, I can press S to scale. So I scaled down some. Now I'm going to press S to scale on the X-axis like that. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. I'm then going to right click to go back to this view. I'm now going to press E to extrude on the Y-axis and then come out like this. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. I'm going to hold them the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to press E to extrude and then right click. Again, it doesn't look like I did anything. I made another face right on top of the other face. So that allows me to press S to scale. And then I'm going to press S to scale on the X-axis like this. I'm then going to go to the right view again. And we have that new geometry. So I'm going to just take this manipulator and pull that geometry out like this. And I'm just thinking of what to do now. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to press E to extrude, then right click to get that geometry to stay in place. I'm going to press S to scale. I'm then going to left click. So when I scaled, basically what I did, I scaled on every angle. And I was looking as this went up towards this angle right here. Basically what I'm doing is looking at ways that I can pull the geometry out and make this fairly simple. So what I'm going to do is press E to extrude again. I'm going to right click to get that geometry to stay in place. Because we just made a new face, I'm going to pull this geometry out like this. Okay, what we're going to do now is hold them in the mouse button to take a look and see what we have. Okay. I'm going to right click to go back. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put a loop cut right here. So I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control, I'm going to press R. I'm going to left click one time. Because I left click one time, I can still move this loop cut. So I'm going to move this right here. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to still hover here, hold control, and then while holding control, press R. I'm going to left click one time. Because I left click one time, I can move this loop cut. So I'm going to move it right here and then left click a second time to lock that loop cut in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, when you're working in the 3D world and someone gives you a concept, sometimes when somebody gives you a concept that they want made into a 3D model, they'll want that concept to be exactly like, they want the 3D model that's going to be produced from that concept to be exactly like that concept that they gave you. Other times they'll give you the concept as a guide and they'll say, look, this is what we generally want. However, make it look good. You have freedom to work as you want. And that's kind of how I'm showing you here with the aspect of somebody, if somebody had given us this concept and said, look, you have freedom, make it generally look like this. If you can find ways to make it look, decent, keep it fairly low poly, make it look cool, do that. Okay, what we're going to do now is hold them in a mouse button, rotate the view. We're going to click here to go to face select. We're then going to click here. We're going to press E to extrude, right click. We just made new geometry here. We right click so this geometry would stay in place. Because it's in place, we can press S to scale down, something like this. I'm then going to left click to lock in that scale. I'm then going to press S to scale on the X axis like this. I'm then going to left click to lock that scale in. Okay, we're going to click here to go back to the right view. I'm going to take the manipulator and push this down like this. I'm just lining this up right here with, you can kind of see the line in the background image right here. So I just, line that up, this face up with that. Okay, so what we're going to do is press E to extrude on the Z axis. When I press Z, our preview line went away. I'm going to press Z again. Comes right back. Then we're just going to push this into position. I'm going to press R to rotate. Because I am in a right orthographic view, we really don't have to be concerned as far as rotating on a particular axis. So I want this here to be, lined up with this. So how do we do that? I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, there's multiple ways of doing that. What I'm going to do is hold Control, and then while holding Control, press R. That put a loop cut in. I'm going to left click one time. Because I left clicked one time, I can move this loop cut. So I'm going to move this up to here. What I'm doing is putting this loop cut fairly close to this other loop cut here. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, the reason why we did that was because this is so close to here, we can actually use these two vertices and, pull this edge in here. So we're going to press Z and then go to wireframe. I'm going to hover my mouse here. I'm then going to hold Shift, and then while holding Shift, press B to draw a zoom box right here. I'm going to click here to go to vertice select. I'm going to make sure, we're on vertice select. I'm going to hold Control as well as hold the right mouse button. I'm then going to draw a lasso select around these 4 vertices. It looks like 2 vertices, but it's actually 4. And then I'm just going to take the manipulator and push over like this. Now I'll press A to deselect. I'll hover here, press B for box select. And then just, come up, pull this to the side like this. Then I'll press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom back some now. Okay, when we look here, we can see this is just almost another, cube or rectangle coming up right here. So what I'm going to do is hold the middle mouse button, rotate the view. I'm going to press Z and then select solid view. I'm then going to go to face select. I'm then going to click here, hold Shift, and then while holding Shift, click here, here. Okay, so I thought this line was making me think there was another loop cut. So we have that whole top selected. What I'm going to do is press E to extrude. I'm then going to right click. We just made new geometry from that extrusion. I'm going to press S to scale. Then I held the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to press S to scale on the E axis. I'm going to pull this up slightly like that. We're going to click right view so we can see our view here again. I'm looking at this right here. Okay, I'm going to pull up like this. I'm going to press A to deselect, and you can see we have, this here. We have this, this here should be lined up right here. So what we did here, we can do a similar thing right here. So we're going to hold Control, and then while holding Control, press R to put a loop cut in. I'm then going to left click once. Because I left click one time, I can move this loop cut, and I'm going to line this up just like this. I'm then going to press, I'm going to left click to lock that in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I put this loop cut here so I can, pull this down. For this to work how we want, we kind of need like an anchor. So I'm going to put another loop cut right here. So I'm going to hold Control, then while holding Control, I'm going to press R. There's the preview that way. If I move the mouse, it goes horizontal. So then I'm going to left click one time. Because I left click one time, I can move this loop cut. So I'm going to move this forward like this. I'm then going to left click a second time to lock that in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is press Z and then go to wireframe. We're going to click here to go to vertices select. We're going to hover here, press B for box select, drag down. We want these 2 vertices. Looks like 2, it's actually 4. And then see this right here. So here's our, vertices, or it's basically forming a line. We want to take this line right here and put that line basically right there. We can take the manipulator and push down like this. Because we have this other loop cut here, this is, staying up. So this vertex is going down. This one is staying up because we're not grabbed on it. And that's what we want. So now I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to press Z and then go to solid view. I'm going to hold the mouse button just to take a look at what we have here. It's coming along. I'm going to click here to go back to right view. Okay, I'm going to press Z and then click here to go to wireframe. I'm going to hover here, press B for box select, grab those, looks like 1, it's actually 2 vertices, and pull this forward like this. Pull that up some. I don't want to pull it up some. I want this to be straight. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to press Z and go to solid view. I'm going to click here, go to face select that. I'm going to click here to go back to this view here. I'm going to press E to extrude, right click. We just made new geometry. When I right click, that new geometry just stays exactly in place. I'm going to scale down something like that. I'm going to press S to scale an X axis like this. I left click to lock that in. I'm now going to click here to go back to right view. I'm now going to push this down. Okay, like that for now. Okay, we're going to put a loop cut right here. I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control, press R. I'm then going to left click 1 time. Because I left click 1 time, I can move this loop cut. I'm going to put this here. Prefer for this line to be straight, so I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0. Then left click to lock that in. And I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hover my mouse here, hold control, and then while holding control, I'm going to press R. Then I'm going to left click once. Because I left click once, I can move this loop cut. I'm going to move this here. Okay, about there. Looks good. I'm going to left click a second time to lock that in. I prefer for this to be straight, so I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0. And then left click to lock that in. That, to lock that that scale in. Okay, we're going to press Z and then go to wireframe. We're going to click here to go to vertices select. We're going to press A to deselect. We're going to hover here, press B for box select, grab right here. Pull this down like this. Up a little like that. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to grab this. Push this. I'm just, lining up that edge right there. I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to press Z and then choose solid. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here to go to face select. I'm then going to click here to select that face. Okay, and pretty much like we did before, I don't want this to be extruded out. We're going to extrude something out. I want it to be away from this edge here, so we can press E to extrude and then right click to get that extrusion to stay right in its place. Then we can press S to scale. I'm doing this just to come away from the edge a little bit here as well as there. Now I'm going to press S to scale on the X axis to thin that out some. I'm now going to click here to go to right view. I'm going to push this down some, then press R to rotate. Like that. I'm going to hold control in the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift in the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold control in the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm then going to click here to go to vertices select. I'm then going to press Z and then click here to go to wireframe view. Okay, with vertices select on, I'm going to hover here. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to grab, looks like one, it's actually two vertices. Just, pull this into this general shape. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold control as well as hold them the mouse button to zoom back. Hold them the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to press Z, then select solid view. Just taking a look. I'm going to click here to go back to front view. Okay, I'm going to hold control as well as the R key. I'm going to left click one time. Because I left click one time, I can move this loop cut. I'm going to left click a second time. I want this to be straight. Yeah, what you see selected here, this loop of vertices. So I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0. And then left click to lock that in. Now I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press B for box select. Oops. Because we're in solid view, now I keep saying it looks like one, it's really two. Because we're in solid view, I thought I was selecting two, I selected the one. So we press Z, go to wireframe. Now when I go to select, by pressing B for box select, I'll grab both vertices. So now I'll press A to deselect. Okay, we're going to press Z, then choose solid. Can we grab this right here? Yes, we can. Okay, so I'm going to click here to go to face select. I'm going to click here, hold shift, and click here. Click here to go back to right view. I just want to extrude this out here, so I'm going to press E to extrude. Pushing this down. Then over. I'm going to hold shift in the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to hold control in the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift in the middle mouse button to pan. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press Z and then go to wireframe. I'm then going to click here to go to vertices select. I'm going to press B for box select. Push this into place like this. I'm going to press A to deselect. Press B for box select. That. I'm going to press Z and choose solid view. Okay, what we're going to do now is hold the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here to go to edge select. I'm going to click here. I clicked here just because I want to bring the 3D cursor right to here. I'm going to hold shift and then while holding shift press S. This brings up our snap to menu. I'm then going to choose cursor to selected. The reason why I wanted to bring the 3D cursor here is because in Blender, wherever the 3D cursor is at, is where objects tend to come into Blender at. Okay, what we want to bring in is a cylinder, so we're going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, we're going to press A. This brings up our add to menu. So what we're going to do is go to cylinder. If you look over to your left, you'll see we have 32 vertices on the cylinder, which is the default for Blender. We don't need that many. We're going to click 8 and then press enter to lock that in. Okay, I'm going to hold control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom out. We can press R to rotate on the x-axis 9, 0, and then left click to lock that rotation in. Okay, now we're going to press S to scale this down some. I'm going to click right view. I'm gonna hold I'm gonna hold control. I was holding shift. I'm holding shift and middle mouse button to pan now. I'm gonna press S to scale. Push this back. Take the manipulator and push this down. I'll press S to scale. Again, like that. I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press D. I'm then going to right click. When we pressed shift D, we duplicated this cylinder. Just going to pull that up so we can use that for later. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to take a look. I'm going to click here to go right back to our side view. Okay, I'm going to click here to go to face select. I'm then going to press A to deselect the cylinder right there. I'm going to left click right here. I'm then going to press E to extrude, right click. We just made new geometry. Now we're going to press S to scale this new geometry down. I'm then going to left click to lock that scale in. Okay, what we're going to do now is click here to go to right view. I'm then going to press E to extrude. I'm going to press Y. Pull this out like that. I'm then going to left click to lock that extrusion in. Okay, I'm going to hold control in the middle mouse button to zoom in. This is bigger than I want it to be. So what we can do is we're on face select. We can hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, click here. I'll hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view, mainly so I can see this face here. I'm going to hold shift, select that face right there. I'm then going to click here to go back to right view. Okay, and we want to scale this down, and we pretty much want it to scale every way but on the Y axis. So what we can do is press S and then hold shift, and then while holding shift, press Y. And then what this does is these faces that we have selected will scale in every direction but on the Y axis now. So I'm now going to left click to lock that in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. And when I said that, I meant lock the scale in. By the way, if you're wondering what this is just some leftover pixels from when I was working with this in GIMP. I'm going to hold control in the middle mouse button to zoom out. I'm going to hold shift in the middle mouse button to pan the view. I'm going to hold control in the middle mouse button to zoom out some more. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to press L. I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press D. I'm going to right click. When I press shift D, I duplicated this object right here. So I'm going to push this back like this. Push this down like this. Okay, with this selected, I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z axis 90, and then press enter to lock that in. Then I'm going to take the manipulator and push this more into place like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to right click right here. Just thinking about adding a cube in, but it's really not necessary. We can click here. Click here. And what we can do is hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. We can press E to extrude, right click. Then we can press S to scale. And then with this face here selected, we'll click here. We'll actually push this into place. So, you know what we'll do? I'm trying to see this distance right here. Okay, you know what? I thought of one thing, then I'm like, nah, that's not the best. We can actually pull up here. Now we can actually see what's going on here. So now we can press S to scale on the Y axis like this, and then push this back like that. Okay, we'll click here to go back to right view. We'll press E to extrude on the Z axis. We'll bring this up some. See how it's wobbling? So I'm going to press Z again so it's not wobbling. Like that. And just like we moved here, what we can do is press A to deselect. We can, with face select on, hold shift as well as hold alt, click right here, then hold shift and click here. Okay, now with that selected, we'll click here and push this back some like that. We'll then press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold them the mouse button. I'm going to click here, hold shift as well as alt. I'm going to click here. Then I'm going to press S to scale on the X axis because I want that thinner. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here. I'm then going to press E to extrude and then right click so that stays right in place. I'm then going to press S to scale. I'm then going to pull this up some like this. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hover here, press L. I want this to be wider. I'm going to press S to scale on the X axis like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Then I'm going to click here, then click here. I'm going to press E to extrude on the Z axis. My preview line went away. I'm going to press Z again, go up like this. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is hover here. I'm going to press L. I'm going to press H to temporarily hide that. I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here. Click here to go back to right view. I'm going to press E to extrude on the Y axis like this. I'm then going to press R to rotate like this. I'm going to press S to scale. So when I'm scaling now, I'm just looking at this line right here. I'm not concerned about this here right now. I'm just looking right here. The reason why I'm looking right here instead of there too is because I can just press A to deselect, hover here, hold control, and then while holding control, press R to put a loop cut in. I'll move like this, left click once, because I left click once, I can move this loop cut, move this here, left click to lock that in, and then press S to scale. See that? Then I'll press A to deselect. I'll hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, I'll press H to bring back this, which was temporarily hidden from before. Okay, what we're going to do now is press A to deselect. I'm going to hover here, then press L. I'm going to move this back like this. I'm going to press S to scale. Zoom in here. I rolled the mouse wheel, held shift and middle mouse button to pan. And press S to scale on the Y axis. Pull this back. Press S to scale on the Y axis some more. Then left click. There we go. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control, press R to put a loop cut in. Left click once. Disappeared because it's behind the, the other geometry. So now I'm just going to press this here. I'm going to hold control, then press R to put another loop cut in. I'm going to put this here. I wasn't sure if I left clicked. I left clicked a second time just to make sure it was locked in. Held the middle mouse button to rotate. Okay, I'm going to click here to go to face select. I'm then going to click here. I'm going to click here to go back to right view. I'm going to press S to scale like this. I'm going to push this back like this. I'm press A to deselect. I'm going to hold control, and while holding control, I'm going to press R to put another loop cut in. I'm going to left click to lock that in, and then left click a second time to totally lock that in. I'm then going to press S to scale like that. Push that back something like that. I'll then press A to deselect. I'll hold Alt, click here, push this back some. Then I'll press A to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is press B for box select. I'm going to grab this right here. I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press D to duplicate. I'm going to right click to get the duplication to lock in place. I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis like that. I'm going to hold the mouse button to, oh, look at that. So I only grabbed half because I didn't go to wireframe. So I'm going to press X, choose faces to delete, click here to go back. You do that sometimes. So that being, forgetting you didn't go to wireframe, so I'm going to press Z, go to wireframe, press B for box select. I'll grab this, I'll hold shift, and then while holding shift, press D. I'll then right click to get that to stay in place. I'll pull this up. I'll press S to scale on the Y axis like that. I'll press Z, select solid, hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view, press A to deselect, hold Alt, click here, press F, which fills in that geometry there. I'll press A to deselect. I'll hover here, press L. When I hover over a piece of mesh and press L, I select that entire mesh. I'm going to click here. I'm now going to press R to rotate like this. Push this in the place like that. I'll then press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here to go to face select. I'll click here. I'll press E to extrude. Right click to get that geometry we just made to stay in place. I'll press S to scale. I'll left click. I'll press E to extrude. Push that extrusion in a little bit, and then left click to lock that into place. I held the middle mouse button to rotate. I'll then press A to deselect. Okay, I'll click here to go to right view. I'll hold the mouse button to rotate the view. We're on face select, which is good. I'm going to click here. Click here to go to right view. I'm going to press E to extrude on the Y axis like this. I'll left click to lock that in. I'll press S to scale up some. I'll then press E to extrude on the Y axis like this. Left click to lock that in, then press S to scale that up some, like that. I'm going to click here to go to edge select. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Alt. And while holding Alt, I'm going to click here. That allowed me to select that entire loop of edges. I'm now going to press S to scale this up like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, now I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to click here to go to face select. I'm going to click here, press E to extrude, right click to get that new geometry to stay in place, press S to scale, left click to lock that in, press E to extrude, Y axis, push this in like that, and then left click to lock that in. I'll then press A to deselect. I'm now going to click here to go back to the right view. Okay, as far as this right here and this here, I don't think I like that, so I'm not going to be concerned about that. For this here, I'm going to click here to go to vertices, select, I'll roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'll press Z and then go to wireframe. I'll then hover here, press B for box select, and then just pull this, push that down some, like that. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control, press R to put a loop cut in. I'll move here. I'm then going to left click once, then left click a second time to lock that in. I'll then press A to deselect. I'll then press B for box select. I'm then going to pull this up like that. Small adjustment there. I'll press A to deselect. And then I'm going to press Z to go to solid view. Okay, I'm going to hold shift in the middle mouse button, pan. I'm going to click here to go to phase select. I'm going to hover here, press L, and then I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press H. What that did was that hid all of our geometry except for here. The reason why I did that was I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here. This geometry here is hidden from view. We're going to UV map this. This can cause issues. There's no reason to have this face here, so what I'm going to do is press X to bring up our delete menu, then choose faces to delete. I'm then going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, press H to bring back our hidden geometry. I'm then going to click here to go to right view again. Okay, I'm going to hold Control in the middle mouse button to zoom back. Hold the middle mouse button just to take a look at what we have. Okay, I'm going to click here to go back to right view. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. This right here, you see how this is here? We're going to use the nodes and cycles to actually deal with this. Like I said, I wanted this to be mostly low poly. I'm going to click here to go to vertices select. I'm going to press Z, then click here to go to wireframe view. I'm going to click here, grab these vertices here, push this down like that. I'm going to press A to deselect, press B for box select, grab right here. The reason why I'm doing that is because this is pretty thin right here, so I wanted to make sure that we had this in. So I'm going to press A to deselect. So I'm just taking a look at it. Yeah, pretty good so far. Okay. Okay, what we're going to do now is if you look here, we're in the default workspace for Blender. If you click here, there's all these different workspaces. What we want to do is click where it says UV editing to enter the UV editing workspace. See how right here you can kind of like see these vertices through the gun. I don't like that. By clicking here, this makes it how we were working before, where you basically you only select what you can see pretty much. So I'm rolling the mouse wheel to zoom out. I'm going to click navigation right here. I'm going to click right to go to right view right there. We're in right perspective view. We want to be in right orthographic view, so I'm going to click here. Okay, the reason why we came here is because we want to UV unwrap this gun. There's multiple ways of doing that. Basically, the purpose of UV unwrapping something is to lay out a 3D object in a way that is, for the most part, flat, so that we can put colors, images, what we would normally call textures on this. So what we're going to do, UV unwrapping, again, there's multiple ways of doing it. For what we have here, we're going to use a fairly easy way. So basically what you see right here is once we take this and unwrap it, which again means take the 3D-ness of this for the most part and lay this out in the way so that it's flat here. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and the mouse button to pan. So basically the way we're going to do that is we need to be in edit mode, which we are. So what we're going to do is we're going to press A to select our entire mesh right here, right? Actually, let me hold the middle mouse button just to take one more look at it. Looks good. I'm going to left click here to get this to go right back. With all of this selected, what we're going to do is we're going to press U. And when we press U, our UV mapping menu pops up. And if we had planned out how to map everything, typically we use this right here, unwrap. Unwrap. We're going to use what's called, well, this is another thing right here that's useful, which is Smart UV Project. And this is where Blender kind of figures out where what's called seams go to lay this out flat. However, we want to have this literally be set up exactly how we see it from the side. So for that, what we want to do is actually go to here where it says project from view. And what this means is this will take exactly what you see in this side view and then use that to help us set up how the image that we're going to put on this gun is laid out. So I'm going to just left click, and there you can see right there, this looks pretty much exactly like this, except this right here, this is 3D space. This is 2D space. So what you're seeing here is, imagine this is just a flat piece of paper with this. This is totally flat right here. Okay, now we want our image to, go in here and be able to work with this as easily and as quickly as possible. So what we're going to do is this right here is going to be 1024 by 1024. And that is basically, what this is right here, which is basically a square. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to, there's a program called GIMP. GIMP is basically an alternative to Photoshop. And what we're going to do is I'm going to click here, then click here to open up GIMP. GIMP is very similar to Blender. It's open source. And basically here is GIMP here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click File, Open. I'm going to look for that file that we used for this gun. And you would look for whatever file you're, using. Okay, so here it is. So I'm going to click Open. Screen cast, I guess, is getting in my way. So here this is. Now see how this is a rectangle view. When we go to Blender, see this is a square view, right? Clicking here to go back to GIMP. So what I'm going to do is click File, New. I'm going to make up a new image. 1024 by 1024. I'm going to click OK. Here's the new image right here, which is all white. I'm going to click here. This is making a new layer. So I'm going to make it a transparent layer. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to hide this. I'm going to left click on this window here. I'm going to left click on this layer. I'm going to click Edit, Copy. I'm now going to click on this new, I guess, document you would call it here. I'm going to click Edit, Paste Into. And then you see it comes in a GIMP like this. It says Floating Selection. I'm going to click here. So now it's, in GIMP, not as a floating selection. So what I'm going to do is, now that I have this just how it is, like I want it, I'm going to press File, or click File, I should say. Export as. This menu pops up. I'm going to search for the old file, which is here. I'm going to click this. I'm going to just, when I clicked here, it gave this new file the same name as that. I'm going to click here, put space 2, press export. We want to uncheck where it says save background color, because we want to make sure that this is transparent. You also want to make sure you export a PNG. A PNG is a file format that allows you to have transparency, which is represented by these checker box, this checker box pattern you see behind our energy weapon. So I'm going to come down here, click here, go back to Blender. Okay, what we want to do now is click here to go to Open. We then want to go and find the file that we exported out from GIMP. So here's the folder. If I click here, I can actually see the file. So I'm going to click here, then click open image. Okay, what we're going to do now is roll our mouse to zoom back. I'm then going to press S to scale this up. I'm going to press G to maneuver it. I'll then press S. Left click to lock that scale in place. Then left click to lock that move in place, and we're able to scale this up fairly easily because the picture is 1024 by 1024, and it's that made this form in this box shape right here. Okay, when I say form in a box shape, what I mean is that normally what I used to do is I would do a project from view, I would bring an image in here, and I did not particularly, like if I was doing a reference image like what we did, if I wasn't, typically I wasn't concerned about what the image was, I just brought that image in, and then when I brought the image in, this right here, our UV unwrap would be not right. It would be too short or too long. I couldn't just scale it up and move it into place. I would have to scale on different axes and go through extra work to get this in place. Anyway, with this set up now, and with our UV pretty much over the image, how you see it here, what we want to do now is, currently we're in the UV editing workspace. We want to click here and then click here to go to the compositing workspace. Okay, so right now we don't see our image. We should be able to just click here, and there it is right there, energy weapon for tutorial 2 PNG. We'll click that, and because we already set it up, it's still there. So now we're gonna click here. So this makes us be on a set up to composite for materials. We're gonna click use nodes. So here's our gun here. You can kind of like see through the gun. That's because this here, we have to click this so we only work with what is visible. I'm gonna press N here. Press N. I didn't mean properties, I actually meant T. I want to click navigation. You can barely see the navigation where you can see it say NA. It's still what we've been using. It's just because it's this small window. So I'm going to click right to get that to go to right view. I'm then going to click here to get it to go to orthographic. So it is, set up how we had it set up before. Okay, I'm going to click here and then click here. So we were in edit mode. Now we're in object mode. I'm going to click here. I'm going to press X to delete that light right there. The reason why our nodes disappeared is because I'm not clicked on the gun. What I want to do is right click here to put the 3D cursor there. I put the 3D cursor there because in Blender, objects tend to come into Blender where the 3D cursor is at. So I'm going to hold shift. While holding shift, press A. This brings up our mesh add to menu. I'm then going to select plane. I'm then going to press S to scale. And the reason why I'm scaling this plane up is we're going to have light come from this plane. This is a fairly quick way to set up lighting inside of the cycles render. So with this plane selected, we're going to click here to go to materials. We're going to click new. This represents the materials for this plane. We want to click where it says diffuse. Then we want to click emission just by left clicking there. Okay, so now that we have that plane emitting light, we're going to actually right click here, press and hold shift, and while holding shift, press A. This brings up our add to menu. We'll go to mesh, plane, then we'll press S to scale. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. One of the reasons why we came here was because of Cycle's ability to do very nice lighting. So I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to click here to go to rendered view, and we can see our gun right here. We can also, as a shortcut, hold shift, and then while holding shift, press Z to go, to rendered mode, and then back to our default viewing mode right here. Okay, if you're wondering why we brought in this ground plane, well, we brought in the ground plane because the light is emitting from the top plane. Then we put the ground plane in so the light could come down and then bounce off this ground plane back up towards our energy weapon here. So what we're going to do now is click on our energy weapon. We need to add in some nodes to work as far as putting this image onto here. So we're going to click add, and we can get to a lot of our what we need from here. So we click add, we go to input, we'll then go to texture coordinate. And once I left clicked on texture coordinate, I don't have to click and hold. I just move my mouse, and this pretty much, sticks right to the mouse. Now I'm going to click add, go to shader. Okay. Texture, there we go. Image texture. I'll left click there. I'll roll the mouse wheel to zoom out some. Okay, now we're going to click add. We need a transparent BSDF shader. I'm just going to left click, so that's right there. Okay, we need to go add shader, mix shader, bring this in here. I'll pull this up some. We need to have a connection come from UV to vector, so we'll just left click here and drag, and then move that to vector like that. Okay, this image texture node is where we need to have our image be loaded into. We could either click open and search for our image, but because we were working, or we have been working with the image, Blender, when we click here, knows that we're working with the image. So you can see right there, energy weapon for tutorial 2.png is the image we need. So we'll left click there. So now that image is loaded into this image texture. So now for this, we need to have the image texture go from color to color on the diffuse BSD, or the diffuse BSDF. So now what we need is we need to disconnect this here. We'll pull this back. We need to have these things mixed together. So we need to come from the BSDF output into the first shader spot right here for the diffuse, the BSDF here. We need to go from here to here. And then from our image texture, this is very important, where it says alpha, we need to go out from this alpha and into the input for factor right here. Okay, now with all that done, we need to come from all of these, nodes are being mixed in this mix shader. We need to go from this output on the mix shader to the input for surface on our material output here. Okay, now with all of that done, what's really cool about this is you see this right here, we have this space here, but here, this is this solid piece right here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press Z. And then here's our rendered mode. And you see right here, we can see that now, even though this is actually solid, it looks, just like this. So we're able to actually save the extra geometry that we would have used up. Zoom in. The extra geometry that we would have used up modeling this, we're just taking advantage of basically the transparent areas in our image here, which is very cool. Okay, now with our UV mapping work done, is our node work done, what we can do is click here and then click default to go back to our regular or our default Blender workspace. I'll click Z and then select solid now, and then I'll hold shift, and then while holding shift press Z, and now you can see there's our weapon right there. It doesn't take too long. This works particularly well when you can see the weapon from a distance. So there you have it. If you see a design of a weapon, uh, you can use this method to fairly easily and fairly quickly get a pretty decent result. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. For all of those of you out there who like the videos on this channel and reshare them, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. If you are new to this channel and you like the videos on this channel and you would like to see more, please subscribe and thank you for viewing.